That's a surface level friendship. It's a one-sided surface level friendship. They never ask what's going on with you. They never ask how your life is. They never check in to see if you're okay. Like, we should be here to empower other women, but that's not always the way that it goes. Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Black Girl's Orbit. I am your host, Zahara. I will be your host from now until forever. We are we are gonna get into a juicy topic today. I've got the robe on. I've I've done my hair. I said we need a little bit of protection. We need a bit of bouge in this episode. So here we are. We're going to talk everything female friendships. Every single thing female friendships. And when I mean I'm serious about this episode, I've got notes. I've got notes. So we're about to get into it. Navigating female friendships, figuring them out, the different types of female friendships, because I feel like I have been reflecting upon my friends. Like, my friend came, a very good friend of mine came last week to come and visit me and visit the baby. And while we was here, we was sitting, we was talking, and we was reflecting on my son's birthday. And she was like, yeah, all of your friends were there. Like, you have a good group of female friends. And I was like, wow, like I had to sit down and just like deep the fact that, yeah, I do. And that was not at all that was not at all the situation even 6 months ago before my baby was born. That was not at all that was just not my reality. And now to sit with her in that moment and say like, yeah, okay, wow, like I have a good solid group of black female friends that I could confide in, I can go to, that show up for me, show up for my son, that want to be a part of my life, and that we have intentional friendships. It's not no fake friends, it's not no codependence, it's not no shadiness. Like, it's a real friendship. And regardless of the season that we're in, I know I can call on them, and I might disappear off the face of the earth because mum things, but they're going to be there for me. And in that moment, I was like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. Like, I feel like there's a life cycle when it comes to female friends, that there is like this life cycle situation where there's types of female friendships. There's literally like stages of female friendships that we go through in our lives, specifically black female friendships. Now, this is disclaimer before we get into it. This is my opinion. This is my opinion based on my experiences, based on the experiences of me and other female friends that I have and the things that we talk about. This may not be your experience. There are loads of things that are very subjective, like is the fact that I'm light skinned, the schools that I went to, the groups that I were around, the type of female friends that I encountered. Not everybody experiences that. And you can experience any stage of these female friendships straight off the bat. There are going to be people in your life that come and just are meant to be your friend. And then there are some of us who have a lot of things to work through, that we tend to work through in our friendships. And that was me. Like, there was a lot of wounds that I had, mum wounds that I had, female friendship wounds that I had. And the mum wounds were mirroring into how I was showing up as a female friend and the type of female friends that I was attracting for a very long time. Once I figured all of that out, the type of women that I tended to attract were a lot better. Okay, so all of these things, the types of friendships that I had were subjective. It's subjective to my opinion. Now, you can watch this and relate to this. You might watch this and be like, no, sorry, she's chatting out her ass. Just you can let me know. I'm here for the conversation, because I think the nuance of female friendship, specifically black female friendship, is so interesting to me, because I don't feel like there should ever be any problems. Like, we should just get along. Like, we should be here to empower other women, but that's not always the way that it goes. And there are a lot of external factors that affect that, and then there's a lot of internal factors that affect that as well. So, okay, so we're going to do like an overview of the female friendship cycle that I have now named the female friendship cycle. This is what I've named it. In my opinion, there is, how many have I got here? One, two, three, four. I've got 4 types of female friendships that I can say I've seen and experienced within my life, but that can happen at any time with any person in any way. And some of them kind of can blend into each other depending on the type of friendship that you're in. But the first one that I would say is like the youngest, most innocent sense of female friendship that we tend to go through when we're really young. Like if you get a sibling at a very young age, like 2 and up, if you get like a sibling at that age when you're very young, or you start going to nursery, those types of ages, like between 2 and 9 years old, I would say this tends to be the first type of female friendship that you're in, where it's you make a friend and you are so excited that you've made a friend, that you are elated in that friendship. You want to do everything with that person. You want to be everywhere with that person. That person is your bestest friend that you've ever met in your entire life. You know loads of things about that person, but you don't actually understand yourself yet. So you don't understand the other person yet. So it's very innocent, it's very protective. If it's the first female friend that you're having with a sibling, it's very like innocent. It's like, oh, this is my sister and I want to protect her, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but also I'm the only one that can make anything bad to happen to her, because you guys will fight and things like that, right? You're trying to figure each other out. You don't really know each other well, but you kind of know each other well. Like that's your friend. And if anyone talks about it, it's like, no, that's my friend, right? That's how you tend to see children talk about their friends. I'm back, and now I have a dressing gown because my son woke up from his nap and decided my dressing gown is his pillow. So it was either take the pillow, take the dressing gown, the pillow, take the dressing gown and wake the baby up, or leave the dressing gown and come here naked. Well, not naked, but you know, with no dressing gown. So here we are. What was I talking about? Yeah, that first type of friendship that is very innocent. They'll have tiffs, they'll have fights, but nothing comes above their friendship. Like the fight is never, it's never that deep. Do you get what I mean? Like it's never gonna be. It's never gonna be like in that moment. It's the worst thing that ever happened, but then they're gonna go back and be their friend because that's their friend. Do you get what I mean? And it's like a best friend thing. Like, yes, mum, I have best friend. My best friend. That's how it is, and it's really sweet. And when you see it, it makes you smile because you know that they love their friend, and it's pure unconditional love. Like I said, they'll get into arguments and they'll still be that person's friend because it doesn't really matter too much. Nothing comes above the friendship. This is like between 2 and 9 years old. The next type of friendship is when there's like the introduction of the other. There's other people, there's other genders, there's other worlds, there's other things happening outside of your friendship. And this is like right after that stage. This is like anything from preteen to teens to college. I would say this is when it becomes like universal. This can happen at any time. You can have this type of friendship at any time. But I would say the introduction to these types of friendships happen in that preteen, teenage type place, because they're like understanding that one, boys exist, or other people exist, other girls exist. They don't want other people to be friends with your friends. They don't want boys are now introduced, and it's like, well, how do I feel about you and boys, and my friend is my friend, but this boy thinks that my friend is not nice, so that I don't think that my friend is not. Like, other people's opinions start to affect your friendship. Introduction of the other people start to affect your friendship, and it can turn into bullying. It can turn into really nasty, uncomfortable situations. It can turn into very nasty words and mean experiences. And this is like when we get those talks at school. Well, if you didn't, but we tended to get those talks at school of like what cyberbullying is and why you shouldn't be bullying and how to talk about your emotions, because you're just being horrible. Like, girls are horrible to other girls during this period. And that is at the point where like you may have had that friend that you guys were so innocent, that was your best friend, and all of a sudden she's discovered a boy or she's discovered other female friends, and now your relationship is tainted. Now how she talks to you is meaner. Now how she sees you is different. And it can be really hard on both sides of that, because she's trying to understand who she is and what's going on with her, because like puberty you know, the hormones are coming, all of these things, and you're trying to figure out, what did I do? I didn't do anything. Or maybe that person doesn't isn't affected by other people yet, and so it's really affecting your relationship. Like my sister went through this, and like year 6 can be a really hard time, and that's like 11, 12 can be really difficult, because some people are understanding that other people's opinions matters and some just aren't yet, and the people that aren't yet are really affected and can be really harshly treated during that time, because it's like, I didn't do anything. And when my sister was going through it, it was like, well, we don't want to play with you because you play with the boys. And I was like, and my sister plays with the boys, she has male friends, but I don't. She likes football, you lot don't. You just want to sit underneath the slide and chat. She wants to play football. I don't see why you're being mean to her. But it's a whole thing, right? It's a whole thing that they're going through. And that's that stage. And that stage is very interesting to me, but it's a lot of external factors like hormones, like other people's influence, brain development, stage development, puberty, all of those things are an amalgamation happening. But some people take that identity that they gain at that moment in time. Some girls take that identity that they've gained at that moment in time, like that mean, nasty, bitchy kind of mentality, and they just run with it for the rest of their lives. And that's why you may first experience this type of friendship at that time, during these stages, during that preteen teenage stage, but it can extend. It can extend. It can definitely extend, because some people still have that type of mentality where like other people's opinions affects their friendship, boys affects their friendship, all of those things, and how they treat their friend is dependent on like who's around, what's going on. I remember having friends at that time who would be a certain way when we were together, and then if boys were around, they were completely different. And it was like, what's happening here, right? But it's understanding that they want to impress those boys and all of those things. And I just wasn't getting it, because in my mind, I don't want to impress anybody, right? Until I started going through it, and it was like, okay, now I understand. There's people that we want to impress, right? But yeah, this can also, with subcategory of like black female friendship, subcategory of black female friendships, this can also translate into like when colorism starts to become a problem, when hair starts to become an issue, when understanding that maybe you and your friend is from a different place starts to become an issue. Like, for example, I remember being in primary school, and I was one of the only black girls in my year, but the younger year under me had a lot of like black girls, and they were all friends. And I was friends with those girls for a little bit of time, but also I was older than them. So it was like maybe not so much. But I had really curly hair. I still have really, really curly hair. But it was a constant conversation of like, are you fully black? Like, are you fully black? Like, or maybe you're mixed race. And I'm like, oh, so it was like, she's got curly hair and she's light skinned. Like, no, she has to not be. And I was like, why is this even a discussion? Like, I didn't understand why this was even a discussion, right? And there was another girl in my year, and I believe she was mixed race. Don't remember. But I believe she was mixed race. But she had very black features, but she was light skinned like me. And the boys were constantly talking about, well, like, she can't, why are her features like that? And some things are just the time that we was in. It was like 2000 and I don't know, 8, 9. Some things are just like context dependent. If that is still happening now, crazy, absolutely crazy. But at the time, it was like, oh, well, why are her features like that? And I didn't understand why that was a problem. I still didn't get why that was a problem. But I also didn't understand that standing up for my blackness was something that I should have been doing, and also defending her blackness is something that I should have been doing at that time. And now that I get older, it was like, oh, it was colorism. I get it. I get it now. Like, I understand. I was always, oh, Zara thinks she's too nice. Didn't get it. As I started getting older, and like I said, these things may start, those types of friendships may start at that time, but they can definitely transfer into older life. And that type of friendship, or that type of misunderstanding when it came to female friends, especially black female friends, transcended. I still get people telling me like, well, no, you can't be fully black because your hair's curly and you're light skin. And it's like, why does that matter? I'm comfortable in my blackness. Why aren't you comfortable in your blackness? That because I'm lighter skinned than you and have curly hair, automatically I can't be black. I can't be fully black. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. But I was yearning for female friendships, and that's the kind of female friendships that I was attracting. Also, everyone's trying to understand themselves at that time as well, so it was very difficult. But I feel like that type of female friendship where you understand that there's other people, there's other external things start to affect your relationship. It's no longer just you and a friend and we don't see anything else. No, no, no. There's outside things that are affecting us. There's outside situations that are affecting our relationship and how we show up in friendships and how we look in friendships and our understanding of others and people and how that then is going to translate into our friendships. That kind of happens in that stage. That can also look like, well, you're not from where I'm from, so like we can't be friends anymore, right? Like that also played a part of like people understanding that, oh, my culture is similar to your culture and now we can be friends, or my culture is completely different from your culture and I don't understand that, right? And those creating rifts and issues, whereas before they didn't even understand that cultures were a thing. They didn't care. That was their friend and that was their friend, right? So all of that plays a part. Number 3, I would say this kind of goes into the previous one, kind of goes into this. So, introduction to the other, understanding that other things, external factors affect our female friendships, kind of translates into fake friendships, like surface level kind of friendships. Because I would say between that phase, like the preteen to teenage kind of years, that type of misunderstanding or not understanding or external factors affecting your friendship is very clear. It's like you don't really have a filter to say, oh, I can't say this to my friend or I can't be like that to my friend. It just kind of comes out because you're like, well, no, we can't be friends, or like you're trying to find yourself, right? You're very confident in the fact that like you feel a certain type of way or an opinion because of something that you've seen or someone that you've heard or something's told you. You're very stern in that. But as you get a little bit older, those sentiments tend to hold back. You're like, oh, I can't say that to my friend. She's still my friend. It becomes a little bit more nuanced, right? The opinions become a little bit more nuanced. The external experiences become a little bit nuanced. And it can turn into fake or surface level friends where you assume that those girls are your friends wholeheartedly, fully, deep in your heart. You feel like those girls are your friends, but they still think all the things that were affecting their female friendships when they were younger. They just aren't saying it to you. So they may still act one way when they're with you and one way with other people, but you're not going to say anything about it because you're like, oh, that's just them, like it's fine. Or they may have a problem with the fact that your culture and their culture is a bit different, but they're not going to say anything. It's just going to be a bit deep down. They might, for black women, they might think you're not black enough, but they're not going to say anything. They're going to keep it deep down, right? And that can look like backhanded compliments, especially with female friends. It's backhanded compliments, telling of secrets, confiding in someone and then them going and telling somebody else. It can look like shadiness. It can look like when you have like 3 friends and like they're more friends than they are friends with you and they kind of leave you out or don't invite you places on purpose. That's what it can look like. And I feel like this tends to happen teenage years and kind of like college and honestly forever. Like you can experience these type of friendships at any time because like I said from the previous one, people make that their personality. They make that stage that they're going through becomes their personality. And especially if they start like internalizing it and just keeping it in the back of their mind, they are definitely thinking about you in that certain way. And they can never stop thinking about you in that certain type of way. Like, they may never mature from being that type of person and how they see you and their perspective on you, and they can continue being a fake friend. It's it's really just like whether or not other people in the friendship mature or not to realize that that person is just being a fake friend. And I think there's other subcategories to this as well. I wrote down, it can look like one-sided friendships where you can feel like that person is just constantly draining everything from you. Like, they call you to vent, they call you for advice, they tell you everything, or they pour their hearts out to you, but they never ask how you are. They never ask what's going on with you. They never ask how your life is. They never check in to see if you're okay. They never pour into you. It's just constantly them, 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 them. It's all about me, 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 me. And you tend to feel drained after talking to them. You tend to feel like you're showing up for them consistently. You tend to feel like you don't have a friend in them or can't confide in them. You tend to feel very lonely in those types of friendships. It can definitely look like that's a surface level friendship. It's a one-sided surface level friendship, because actually there's no depth here. You are using me and draining me for everything that I'm worth, and you don't even care about me. Like, really deep down, you don't even care about me. And I don't think some people do that on purpose. I think sometimes people can end up in those types of relationships because of who they are. Like, I know when I was really deep in my people pleasing era, I was attracting a lot of one-sided friendships, and it wasn't necessarily because they knew they were coming to me to manipulate my energy, to take all my energy, to drain me. They wanted advice, and I was so in my people pleasing era from my mum trauma and other things that I was like, yeah, I'll help. Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be down for you. Yeah, and people only had to give me a little bit in return. Just a teeny bit in return, and I was in. Like, whatever you need, unconditional love. I will show up for you. I will be on the phone to you at 2 o'clock in the morning and still go to school in the morning. I will come out my house if I need to. I will drive. I will go wherever it is that you want me to go. Be here for you. And on the back end of it, I'm getting nothing in return. On the back end of it, I am fully drained. And it wasn't necessarily because they knew they were taking everything from me. It's because I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know how to set boundaries, and I didn't know how to tell my female friends, listen, I need some advice. I need some guidance in this area, or I want to be friends with you in this type of way, or I have this boundary over here and I don't really want it to be crossed. I didn't even know what boundaries were. You could stumble all over me, and at some point, maybe it was the Pisces in me, it would just be like, I would just start tallying up that's a red flag, but I would just start tallying up all the things that friend did that I was like, don't like that, don't like that, that's a bit weird, that's a bit weird, and then I would just cut you off. And now that I'm looking back, maybe I was also the problem. Maybe I was also the problem in that scenario, because yeah, I was also the problem, because the fact that I couldn't go and sit down with that friend that I felt like I was there for, and that was my friend and that was my guy, at one point I should have been able to confide in that friend. And like I said, it's not all their fault that they're just taking all from me, because if I never come and say I need you to give me some, how will they know? And while yes, 100%, you can still find friends who don't need to be told and just want to be there for you, 110%. But if you feel like you're going down this rabbit hole, you're getting deeper into the fact that it's a one-sided friendship, if that really is your friend, you should be able to just tell them, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like it's one-sided. And they'll tell you, like, you don't come to me for anything, or I'm so sorry, I should ask you how you are a bit more, or, I just think that you're fine and you're independent. And a lot of the times that definitely was a factor in my female friends at that time, because I was the eldest child. I internalized things. I liked to deal with my own stuff. I didn't like to tell anybody else because of the stuff that I was going through. And also, I was like self-sabotaging to say that, like, well, they're not really there for me. They're not really my friend because I can't confide in them, but I haven't tried to confide in them. And when I did, I would give them a little bit. And if I felt like their response or their reaction was bad, I'm like pulling back all the reins. It's like, no way in hell am I telling you anything ever again in my. But I'm fully here for you, though. I'm fully here for you, though. Right? And so it's a red flag. That's not the best type of relationship, but it's my truth. I've definitely been in one-sided friendships 110%. I feel like with that surface level friendships, it can also look like codependence relationships, which is like, where we can say like, oh, batty and bench. This was a thing for me and my friends, and maybe it's a London thing. It may not be. I don't know. But we constantly say like, oh, those girls are batty and bench. Like anytime you see one, you see the other. They do not go anywhere without each other. They do not do anything without each other. And that can also be scary. That can also give questionable, because who are you outside of your friend? Do you have an identity outside of your friend? Or are you guys just coasting in this constant need to be together that you don't actually know yourself? Like your identity is based on your friend's identity, and that can be very, very toxic. It can be very, very detrimental to you, because that means anything that happens, you and your friend don't get along or have a disagreement, you kind of hide it because you're like, no, but I can't be without that friend, right? And this it's not necessarily good. It also doesn't mean that you guys have a deep friendship. Now you can have a mature friendship and you guys can be batty and bench. Like it can definitely turn into something way deeper, way more mature, where like that is your guy regardless of the situation. But if it's a thing where you guys are batty and bench and you don't know who you are outside of it, it's a surface level friendship, because you don't even know yourself. So how can you really know your friend? Your identity is not your friend's identity. So you need to figure that out. That should be a thing that you guys figure out. You don't want to blend into one. Now, some female friends do, like, they blend into one, and it's like everything that female friend loves, this female friend loves, and that's great. Love that for them. But when they're away from each other, they're still their own people. They're still very much fine and okay and can function and know who they are and know how to regulate their emotions, know how to deal with situations, know how to have opinions. But if your identity, your opinions, your everything is based on your friend, it's questionable. It's a questionable friendship, right? So yeah, I think that's everything from that section. Then we've got the third one, which I think, in my opinion, is the most mature type of female friendship. And this doesn't have an age barrier. This doesn't have a time in life. I think this comes when you start to understand who you are and the type of woman that you want to be and the type of friendships that you want to have. This is an intentional friendship. It's intentional friendship. It's when you start to realize, this is how I want to show up in my friendships. This is how the type of female friend that I want to be. This is the type of woman that I want to be. And when you start learning so much more about yourself and who you are and the identity that you have and the identity that you're building as a woman, you are more able to have mature and intentional friendships with other women. Because if you don't know, we literally just said, like, if you don't know who you are, you can't fully show up for your friend, or you can't be there for your friend, or you don't even know what makes you a good friend. Having a mature, intentional friendship means knowing where you lack and knowing where you excel. Because when your friend needs you, you'll be able to go, I can't help you here. I don't want to give you bad advice. I don't want to point you in the wrong direction. I don't want to tell you something that's not true. I can't help you here. But I'm fully here for you in these ways, right? Or it's knowing yourself enough to say, I can show up as a friend in these ways. It's understanding where you may fall. Like, for example, after I had my son, I realized very, very quickly, I'm a terrible texter. Like, my sense of online communication sucks. And before I had my son, honestly, I was the best. Like, I would prefer a text than a call because I don't really want to sit with you on the phone. When I was at uni, I'd want to sit with you on the phone and like we can talk and be on the phone for hours. I had a friend that literally like that was our vibe. I have a friend that literally was our vibe. Like, we would be on FaceTime all hours of the day, the whole day. When my baby was first born, we could be on the phone for hours and hours and hours. Into as he got older and toddlerhood, can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore. And maturity and understanding that I still want this friend, but I have to understand that the type of friendship that we have at the moment has to shift and change because I can't show up for you that way, right? And her understanding that I get it. You can't show up for me in that way, and still checking on me every now and again, and still double messaging me sometimes when I need it. And I still maybe take 2 weeks to answer her message, but I know she's there, and I hope she knows I'm there, right? I also had a friend who had, I'm saying had, like these aren't my friends. I also have a friend who doesn't live in London. She lives in Birmingham. And, but she also isn't from the UK. So, but we went to university together. So when we was at university, especially when you're in a university, you're very within the vicinity of everyone. Like, I could literally just be like, okay, cool, haven't seen you in a couple of days. Let me just come by your house. Let's sit, chill, chat, catch up, all of those things. We could do that. Now we can't do that. She's in Birmingham. I'm here. I have a son. She has a job. She has a life. And I literally messaged her like, babe, I feel like I'm not being a good friend to you. I feel like I'm not here for you. We don't have the same type of friendship that we had when we was in Exeter. And I have another friend that we was also mourning the type of friendship that we had when we was in Exeter because we were so close in vicinity that we had a stronger relationship in my mind, which isn't the truth. The relationship is still strong. We're just not in close vicinity anymore. And I had to understand that, grieve that, because it's like I can't be there for my friends the same way that I was before because now I have a son and now I have to be here for me. And how is that going to reflect on my relationships and my female relationships that I've taken a long time to heal myself so that I can heal my female friendships? Because I had to fully sit down and understand like this, like literally what I was saying before, like, oh no, I was toxic in that. I was also maybe part of the problem in that relationship and that friendship because I didn't really give my friends a chance and I would like tally up things and then I would just completely cut you off. No explanation, no reasoning, nothing, because I felt like you've done all of these things. You can see that we're having a one-sided friendship. How can you not get that? Okay, cool, bye. Like, and maybe they just couldn't get that. Maybe they just couldn't get that. But I had to do a lot of that type of work because at one point I was like, is it me? Like, it actually, maybe it was me. Because I was constantly asking myself, is it me? And honestly, sometimes when you have to look around, because I don't understand when women say that they're not a girl's girl. Like, everyone should be a girl's girl. Because if you're a girl and you love yourself, then wouldn't you love girls? Or like want to support other girls? But I'd have to ask someone. But even when I was a girl's girl, I looked as though I wasn't because I didn't have any female friends. I didn't have any female friends. And that was also the phase where I was yearning for black female sisterhood. I wanted to be around black women who made me feel comfortable with who I am, who made me feel empowered in who I am, who made me feel safe in who I am. I wanted that and I wasn't attracting that. I was attracting what I said previously. It was like black girls who were questioning my blackness, who had like something to pick at constantly. And that was because they weren't fully comfortable within themselves and who they were. Because now all my female friends are black. Yep, yep. And are very comfortable in their blackness. And I feel so much stronger and uplifted when talking to them and when being around them. And I fully understand what I was missing. Like, I was missing it and I felt it. Like, I felt the void. I just didn't know what to do about it. And because I fully hadn't figured out who I was and the type of black woman that I wanted to show up as, and healed certain wounds that came from like the relationship that I had with my mom, which fully mirror in our female friendships. I couldn't figure it out. And so it was looking like a lot of, I would give you a little bit and then I would completely take it away, because I was so scared of like getting rejected or giving my all and then being shut down. And that kind of like the relationship that I had with my mom at that time. So it was like, okay, I get it. And I literally used to say like, I'm dealing with so much with my mom and our relationship and trying to figure out what's going on here. I don't have time to be having one-sided friendships or going and sitting down and pleading my case to my friend. It's like either you're in or you're out. Like, psh. And it was affecting my friendships because I could have just sat down and been like, listen, this is the situation. I need some help. Or, I need to feel like I am respected or, valued here. And if not, I'll find new friends. But I didn't feel like that. So I didn't say it. And now understanding how much internal work I've done to understand myself and, heal the trauma and understand how I was showing up in female friendships, I realized as soon as I started doing that work, one, I was way more discerning when it came to female friends. Like I didn't have to get to the point where I've tallied up 10,000 things that you've done wrong to me for me to be like, I'm out. It took maybe 2 or 3 issues where I felt like I can't come to you and this be solved, because it should be solved. Not every female friend is going to be the best female friend that you've ever had there's going to be no problems. We've never had an argument. Actually, no. A mature, intentional female friendship, there should be disagreements. The person that you're friends with is going to have a different perspective as you. And you should be able to sit down and talk to them about it and have no issue, have no rifts. You should be able to feel like you are being mistreated, or they're not showing up for you, or the friendship has changed, and you should be able to go and confide in them and be like, listen, this is what's happening, or I felt like you were rude to me in this area, or I felt like we don't have the same friendship that we have anymore, and talk about it and discuss it and debate it and have different of perspective and be different people and have different lives and still have a good friendship and still show up for that person and still love them regardless of what's going on in their lives, right? And I had to do a lot of work. And so because I had figured that out at some point, it was like, yeah, we have 3 times to have a disagreement. And if the disagreement isn't solved with like care and love and understanding, maybe we don't need to understand each other, but just the sense of like, you can be here and I can be here and we can move on. I'm done. I'm done. Because that's not the type of female friendship that I want to have. And understanding the type of female friendship that I want to have. And as soon as I realized that, I started attracting so much more, so much more loving, caring women, black women specifically. And I didn't realize it until I was literally sitting with my friend. And I was like, damn, no. My baby had a birthday, had his first birthday. And the women that came fully showed up for me. Like whatever I needed, however I needed, in any area that I needed, they came to support me. They were there for me. They literally did anything they possibly could on that day to make sure that I was also enjoying the day. Right? And asked me after, how was it? It was great. I hope you did a good job. You're doing a good job, right? And it was like, yeah, okay. Like I've actually done it. Like I've actually created a group of women who I can say that I'm fully happy and mature and feel loved and feel like regardless of where we go, those are going to be my friends. Like I will do my best to show up for them, and I know that they will do their best to show up for me. And even though I'm in this season, especially in this season of motherhood where I may not be showing up fully how they need me to be, they're okay with that, and they will show me grace in that. And it's not like, well, you didn't answer my text message 3 minutes after I send it, so we're not friends anymore. It's none of that. It's that's not where we're at, right? And I think it comes full circle. I think it comes full circle at that point where you're like, I'm so grounded and so covered in this relationship, in this friendship, that it can go back to being that giddy type of innocent friendship where it's like, that's my friend. I don't care what happens. I don't care what we argue about. That's my friend. You can't tell me nothing about my friend. Don't tell me anything about my friend. And if we argue, doesn't matter because that's my friend, right? I think it goes back to that. And I think that's just, it's so pure. It's so lovely, but it takes a lot of work. And society fully affects us when it comes to that, because they paint women out to be, it's very nuanced, especially on social media, because we see this whole sisterhood vibe and act, but when it comes down to it, especially in black female friends, we're constantly talking about like what black women are and what black women should be, and we're constantly talking about other black women and shunning other black women for who they are. And it's like, well, how can we have this sisterhood and this togetherhood and this love and friendship and female friendship and strong unity when we're constantly cussing each other out or belittling each other or telling black women what they should or shouldn't be doing, telling black mums how they should or shouldn't be showing up? It's like, we can't do one and the same. We can't fully unconditional love each other and then judge each other. It just doesn't work that way. And when you're yearning for that type of friendship and that sisterhood, you will find it. But it takes a lot of looking in and figuring out what's wrong with you and what's going on with you before you project. And I think that's a lot of what social media does. Like, it's a lot of black women projecting their own stuff onto other black women. And it's like, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. If I'm comfortable and happy in my blackness, in my femininity, in my womanhood, in how I'm showing up, what's it got to do with you? Nothing. And if we're talking about loving women, let's just love women and let them be the women that they are, okay. And I want to finish this with a conversation I was having on TikTok about old friends versus new friends, because the thing is that when you are evolving as a person and you are going through this cycle of like finding yourself and understanding who you are, and you may have a friend that you are holding on to from the first type of female friendship or the second type of female friendship, the more negative type of female friendship, the type of female friendship that can come off as quite toxic, like a one-sided female friendship at a point. And you guys can still be very good friends, but you have matured. You have understood who you are. You have become intentional in type of female friend that you want to be, but that friend hasn't. That friend hasn't yet figured out who they are. That friend isn't yet comfortable in their identity. That friend isn't yet fully understanding that they're in a one-sided friendship, or fully understanding that they're draining you, or fully understanding that they're not showing up for you the way that you want them to. But they're your friend and you love them regardless. It can be a detriment to you. I was talking on TikTok saying that, in my opinion, new friends are better than old friends, because I was watching a podcast episode of Ashley Carbo. I think that's how you say her name. But it's the Trying Not to Care podcast. And she was saying that she has had friends since she was so young. And she feels like nothing can replace those friends that she's had since she was so young, because they just know her in a deeper, more, more loving, caring way than anybody else. She feels like any friends that she could make now. And I was saying I completely disagree, because I feel like new friends are better, especially in the case where, and specifically in the case where you have outgrown that friend, or you are growing and evolving